everyone, so today I'm going to show how to make a very basic zipper bag, this little bag right here. So I'm going to show you how to make a coin-sized zipper bag. I'm going to show you how to install your zipper, how to line it, and how to add the tabs on the end so that you take the bulk out of your seam allowance on the sides, and how to completely finish a nice little easy zipper bag. So you don't have to be afraid of zippers. They're going to be nice and easy. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks of how to put in your zippers without having to be scared of them. For this size bag, you are going to cut 2 pieces of your outer fabric, 5 inches square, so 5 inches this way, 5 inches this way, and 2 pieces of a lining fabric of the same size. I went ahead and used a peace sign fabric today because we could all use a little bit of peace right now, I'm sure. So 2 pieces outer, 5 by 5, 2 pieces lining, 5 by 5. You are going to want a zipper that is at least as long as your pieces. If it's longer, it's okay because we're going to add some tabs to the end, and we're going to end up cutting this down. If it is shorter, you may have to add longer tabs to make sure it's going to fit. I am also going to cut 4 pieces that are 1 inch by 3 inch. That's a good size to start out with. These are also going to get cut down, but we're going to add those to the ends of our zipper to take some of this zipper plastic out of our seam allowances, so it's going to be less bulky and easier to sew. Because my zipper is longer than my piece, I am going to mark on my zipper where my 5 inches for my pieces. You can kind of see that I have the metal parts of this kind of marked across because I would like to cut those off. Those metal pieces are going to add a lot of bulk, and you do want to make sure you're not going to sew through them. So because of that, I am going to kind of center this on here so that I'm able to cut out those metal pieces. Those are the stoppers of the zipper, but because it's going to be sewn into another piece, we won't need those stoppers anymore. I've also marked a line a 1/2 inch in from each side because my seam allowance is going to be 1/4 inch, but I want to have a little bit of extra so that I'm cutting the zipper out of my seam allowance. So I've marked a 1/2 inch. This is actually going to be my sewing line. I'm going to take 2 of my 1 inch by 3 inch pieces, and one is going to go on the right side of the zipper. I am going to line up the raw edge with the edge marking of my piece. So that's going to get lined up there. On the wrong side, I'm going to put my other 1 inch piece right side down. So both of the right sides of that fabric are facing your zipper. I'm going to sew a 1/2 inch away where I have my 1/2 inch seam line marked. I'm going to stitch on that line, and then I'm going to trim this up to this line here. Once you have both of your tabs on, you are going to trim the zipper out underneath. So I'm going to trim this to about 1/4 inch past where my stitching line is. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to pull back that fabric, and I'm going to trim off most of the zipper. This is again going to take some of the bulk out of the seam allowances so that you don't have a lot of bulk on there, and you're going to pull back that fabric. So you can top stitch here if you'd like to. You don't have to, but on both sides here, I'm just going to trim off some of this zipper. That's going to give me less bulk in my seam allowances because I'm only going to have fabric, I'm not going to have the zipper. And then these are going to get cut a 1/2 inch away from the stitching line. And that's going to give you the perfect size zipper for your bag. It's going to be the right size, and it's also going to have much less bulk in the seams. There are several ways to attach a zipper. And to hold it in place to get you ready for stitching, there are clips, like these Wonder clips. You can use those to hold it in place. There are pins, but I think that the easiest way is to use a fabric glue stick. So this is a glue stick that's specifically made for fabric that is going to wash out when you are done, and it does dry clear, so you don't have to worry about getting any excess on anything. This is a lining piece, so I'm going to take my zipper, I'm going to put a little bit of my glue stick on the wrong side of the zipper here, and I'm going to place this right side up on my lining piece. So I'm going to use that glue stick to hold this down. That's going to hold this down temporarily for me for my sewing so that I don't have to worry about clips or pins or anything like that. With that right side up on my lining piece, I'm going to put a little bit more glue on top, and I'm trying to stay within about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And I'm going to take one of my outer pieces and I'm going to place that on top of the zipper right side down. This is sandwiching the zipper between my outer fabric and my lining fabric. And now I'm going to sew across here close to my zipper. If you have a zipper foot available to you for your machine, that's going to be the best thing to use to stitch on your zipper. This is the E foot on the Viking, and it can be attached on either side because there's an opening here and an opening here. So this foot can go over to this side here, or it can go here depending on the side of the zipper that you're stitching on. I can also move my needle position over to get closer to my zipper. When you're stitching this on, you want to try to stitch close to your zipper. You can feel it, kind of where the teeth of the zipper are, and you can run the foot right along the teeth. And the needle is not going to go right up against it, but you can move your needle over more. If you are unsure or you don't have a zipper foot and you can't feel where that is, you can also mark with a water-soluble pen where the zipper is so that you don't worry about actually stitching onto your zipper. So I'm going to start back at the end here. I'm going to backstitch. You are going to get to a point where your zipper pull is going to be, so there's my zipper pull there. Once you get there, you can lower your needle into your fabric, you can lift your foot, and you can move the zipper pull out of the way so that you can continue sewing without having a big bump missing because of that zipper. Once your first side of your zipper is in place, you're going to open this up and you're going to press your fabric away from the zipper on the inside and the outside. This is especially important on the inside because you want to make sure that when you are zipping your zipper closed, that it's not catching your lining. I also like to top stitch right here next to my fabric so I can make sure that my lining fabric is going to stay to the inside and my outer fabric is going to stay to the outside. To stitch your other lining piece and outer piece to the other side of the zipper, you're going to repeat the same process. You're going to put a little bit of glue on the wrong side of the zipper, and that's going to get placed right side up on top of your lining piece, making sure you align all your edges. Then you're going to take your outer fabric piece, you're going to put a little bit of glue on top of the zipper, and you're going to place that outer piece right side down. Once all of your fabric is stitched onto your zipper, your outer pieces and your lining pieces, it should look like this. What you're going to do is you're going to take your outer pieces and separate them from your lining pieces, and you're going to bring those together. You're also going to bring the lining pieces together. So lining should be right sides together, outer pieces should be right sides together, and where you have that piece of fabric in the middle where your two pieces are connected, you're going to push that up towards your outer pieces. So it should kind of be folded up like that. So your bulk right there, you're going to face that up, and you're still going to match your side seams. So you're going to lay everything out right sides together, and then you're going to sew all the way around this. So you're going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance and sew all the way around, but you're going to leave an opening somewhere in the bottom to turn this right side out. I'm going to be sewing this with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, so I have attached a 1/4 inch foot onto my machine, and I'm going to stitch this all the way around. When you get to this seam, it is going to be a little bit bulky, so you may need to use like a clearance plate or something to get over the heavy part if your machine is having trouble. If not, you can stitch right through there. In my lining in here, I'm going to leave an opening. So I'm going to back stitch a little bit, and then I'm going to move this down and leave a couple inches open so that I can turn this right side out. Same thing when I get to my seam here, you may have to kind of stop, help get that fabric underneath your foot. Once you have your bag sewn all the way around, you're going to grab your outer fabric through that opening in the lining. So this is why it's important to leave the zipper open so you can actually get down into your bag. You're going to turn everything right side out through that opening. And you're going to want to poke out your corners at this point. So if you have a little tool or something, you can poke those corners out. And for the opening in your lining, you can close this by either a hand stitch, so you can take this, fold it in and stitch it by hand. You can stitch it by machine. You can put a little piece of steam-a-seam or some kind of fabric glue in there, but you're going to want to close that opening before you tuck this into your outer bag, because it's going to look like this. You're going to take your lining, you're going to tuck it into the outer bag, and you can pull up your little corners. So by pressing that up towards the top, it's going to give you nicer corners than if you were to tuck these into your lining. So you're just going to take your lining, tuck it into place, and then you can close your zipper. And there's your quick, easy little zipper bag. So you can make these really in any size. You can always make these bigger squares. You can use a bigger zipper. So you can always make them whatever size you want. They also don't have to be square. They can be rectangle. And you can use any kind of print. You can always decorate these with decorative stitches or embroidery. But it's a great way to use up some of your fun scraps that may be bolder prints that you don't necessarily know what to do with. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you make some bags of your own, and please share those with us. Take pictures, tag us in them so that we can see your finished project.